Hey guys, thank you so much for coming back to our channel, and if you're new, well, welcome new friend. Today, time for another easy recipe, and this is also something that I saw at the former royal chef of the royal family of in the UK, and I thought why not adapt this too to share it with you guys. For those of you that have or planning on getting a hot air fryer, because I know a lot of you that watch this channel watch it because, as you guys let us know, because of the hot air fryer recipes that we share with you. So anyway, if you don't have a hot air fryer, please don't feel like you're left out. This you can do in the oven easily. So what we're gonna be making today, like I said, something that's that's fancy enough to even serve to your guests around the holidays if you want, but you can also make it just on any other given day throughout the year. It's a Russian recipe, and yes, we're going international, you guys, and it's called the salmon coulibiac. The salmon coulibiac. What you need for that: rice. How much rice? I don't know, it depends on how big you want to make this. As I will show you, it's very, very easy, so you can just adapt it to your own party size. Or so anyway, so just rice. This rice you will be boiling or cooking, I don't know how you call it. Conform the instructions. If it is basmati rice, then just wait for the water to boil and then add the rice. Wait for the water to boil again, and then give it about 10 minutes with a lid on it on low fire, and that's it. And then let it sit for about 10 minutes to cool off. So that's what I'm going to be doing, just the regular instructions. But because this won't be having a lot of flavor from itself, this recipe, what I will be doing, you don't have to do that, but what I will be doing is vegetarian half broth tablet in the water while the rice will be cooking in. I will throw it in there. In this case, the mushroom taste, just because I found out about this recently, the mushroom broth tablets, and I thought since we're gonna be adding mushrooms into the recipe, it will match. It will be a perfect match. So otherwise, I don't know, I'm always afraid that my food doesn't have enough flavor. So I'm going to be doing that with the rice, cooking it in the same water, dissolving a little bit of that. We need about 4 boiled eggs, so I still need to boil these. We need a puff pastry. How much I can't tell you. It depends on how big of a salmon piece fillet you have. And then obviously the salmon. It has skin, but I'm going to take the skin off. Dill. A little bit of dill, chop it up. Mushrooms, like I said, and an onion. First, I will start with preparing the rice. Then, well, let me do that, you guys. Let me just do that. So start with preparing the rice. Put the water on the fire and just let it boil. Let it go until you can use it for the rice. So, guys, yeah. Wait, I need to help Mike out. He's feeding the cats. Next step is I'm gonna chop the one onion, and wash the mushrooms and cut them in really small pieces, and then saute them in some butter in your skillet.
Sauteed mushrooms.
Saute. Yeah, until they become a little bit translucent and shining.
Translucent mushrooms.
Yes.
Are those the Amsterdam kind?
Speaking of salmon, you guys, the cat foodie next to me smells really good.
Smells like chicken.
It smells like chicken, yeah. Well, actually, it smells like
Geflügel.
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 That's German. Yeah, let's do that.
Chicken.
Means chicken, yeah. Geflügel, van gevogelte. Oh, it's almost like Dutch. So chop up the onion, wash the mushrooms, chop them up, and then saute them in a little bit of butter in the skillet, okay? Not too much though, just till they become a little bit soft, and that's it. So there's my chopped onion. I'm gonna do the same thing with the mushrooms. With mushrooms, it's always tricky, you guys, because they do shrink. So you never know really how much you gonna end up with. So better make a little bit too much than having the problem of having less mushrooms than you actually need. Now I'm gonna chop up my chestnut mushrooms, but you can use any kind of mushrooms, and add it in there, and then add some butter, and then just, you know, like I said. So why am I using this kind of mushrooms? It's just my personal opinion. I tend to find these a little bit more flavorful than the white ones. Guys, wash your eggs and throw them in there with the rice. That will save you even more dishes and pots and pans, which sometimes make me feel like I'm not organized while cooking. So yeah, mix the onion and the mushrooms really, really well. And let them go. If you do not like butter, which I don't like, you know, cooking using butter. Whoa, something flew out. You can also use a little bit of oil, of course. See, this is what I told you about the mushrooms. Although I started with a little mountain of mushrooms, this is what's left. And it's gonna be a little bit, even a little bit less. It's gonna shrink a little bit more. Don't worry about the juices, because I am going to drain it. Whenever you work with pastry stuffing or whatever, never leave any fluids in there, any juices, anything. Always drain it. Otherwise, it's gonna be sloppy and soggy, and you're gonna end up with uncooked, unbaked pastry. So there's my salmon fillet. I just took the skin off, peeled it off. When you take the skin of your salmon fillet, always start with the thick part. So always start on this side, which part is thick, and then take it off toward the thinner part. Otherwise, it's gonna rip it apart if you start here. So always here, thick part toward the thinner part. And that's my last egg. Now I'm gonna drain the rice and let it dry a little bit more. Let it sit with the lid on. Put the lid back on it. Drain it, the lid back on, and let it sit for about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That is for the basmati rice. I don't know what other kind of rice you're using, but if you're using basmati, that's what it is. Alright, let's put it back in. Put a lid on it. So, there's the dill. I chopped it. I sliced the hard-boiled eggs. There's the salmon. It's 600 grams. For me and Mike, it's more than enough. There's the onion and the mushroom. And the rice is drying up. So, and cooling off a little bit. So, as soon as this is done, as the rice is done, I'm gonna mix a little bit of rice. Be careful, do not mix everything all together, because otherwise you're gonna end up with too much rice. We really don't need that much of rice. Just a layer on top of the salmon fillet and the bottom, on top and the bottom, that's all. And then make sure that this is divided evenly through over the whole salmon, top and bottom, okay? And then we're gonna add the eggs and the dill, and then we're gonna wrap it in the puff pastry. That's it, you guys. And then it's gonna go into the hot air oven. All right, so I just tasted the rice and it's good. Now I'm gonna start adding it gradually until I have a nice balance of the onion and the mushroom texture and the rice. I do not want too much of one or the other. So this is it. Yeah, this is perfect. This is what I want. Yeah, look, because when I stir, I see as much of the mushroom mixture as the rice. See, this is what I want. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna stop it right here. And this, actually, you can save for tomorrow morning with a little bit of milk as breakfast. I love rice with warm milk. And then mix it together as breakfast. Guys, I forgot to tell you, add a little bit of salt, okay? Add a little bit of salt, don't overdo it. Add a little bit, mix, taste, and so on until it reaches what you like. If you don't want to add salt in there, maybe you can rub a little bit on the salmon top and bottom. Okay, so I need this to cool off because otherwise it's gonna make my puff pastry rip, just, you know, tear apart because of the heat. So it really needs to cool off before I can stuff my puff pastry with this. Luckily, we're in the holiday season, which means it's December and it's cold outside. I'm gonna put this on the balcony for maybe 5 minutes and then that's done. So guys, if you're gonna be working with a hot air fryer like I will be doing, take the measurement with the baking paper of the basket and cut it out like this and lay it over your salmon fillet just to make sure that it's gonna fit. Otherwise you will know how to maneuver and where to cut, where to add in length or in width. So but for us this is perfect. I don't have to do anything about the salmon fillet, which means I could just take the salmon fillet as it is, you know, top it with the stuff that I'll be showing you and then wrap it in the puff pastry. But I did see that I don't have a lot of space, so you know, I cannot use any extra puff pastry in there, so I will be cutting the edges and make it like wrap perfectly around the salmon fillet. So forget my setting here. We have a small kitchen with a small kitchen counter. See, so I have that and that and that to work with. Anyway, so I'm trying to defrost the puff pastry layers, and this always happens very fast because you know, it's nice and cozy and warm inside. So anyway, I could have went with the pizza dough, but I didn't know how hard or crusty it would come out. So just to be on the safe side, I really advise you to use the puff pastry. Alright, so make a nice puff pastry bed for the salmon. If they overlap, like right here, just make sure that you take some parts off to prevent like thick places of 2 or 3 layers of puff pastry. So you have to work on it every, here and there. Alright, I think this is enough. So now I'm gonna put a nice bed of the rice and the mushrooms mixture on there. I'll come back to you. And now I'm gonna add the eggs. Just imagine in your mind where the salmon would be, and that's where you put a nice bed of eggs. Just like this, you know, more or less, you guys, you get the idea. Now, I don't know how much space the salmon would take, so I'm gonna put the salmon on here and then see what happens. But that's why I'm using the puff pastry while it's half still defrost, because otherwise it's gonna melt here. And make sure you do all this on baking paper. There you go. So same thing as you do on the bottom, do it on top of the salmon fillet. And now I'm gonna wrap it with the rest of the puff pastry that I have. Make it like, really wrap it like a nice gift. So there's the package, you guys. Remember, sometimes you have to take some pastry off the edge or some corners just to make it fit nice, but you do not want too much pastry on there. So I hope this will stay closed. As you can see, it's all patched up. It's like a quilt. literally. Again, next time when I would be making this recipe, I'll go for I'll try it with the pizza dough or puff pastry that's much bigger than these squares that I have, because as you can see, a lot of patches, a lot of seams, so which means it can open up. What I'm gonna do now is brush it a little bit with egg yolk, and then into the hot air fryer it goes. So guys, there it goes, a little bit of grinded pepper. I had to squeeze it in there, so that really made me laugh and you know, chuckle even afterwards. But there it goes. It's a little bit too big for this one, and this is the extra large. I'm gonna put it on 170, and then I'm gonna give it about, because the salmon needs to cook too. You know what, guys? Let's do 165, and then 15 minutes, or maybe even 20. Yeah, let's do 20. 165, 20 minutes. So guys, there it is after 165 degrees, 20 minutes. But I'm gonna flip it because this is a big piece. So I'm gonna flip it because I want the bottom to be crusty too. So be very careful, very careful. Make sure that you, you know, kind of pour it more or less. Let it slide on something like this. And now I'm gonna put something here and then flip it and put it back on the same piece of paper. Maybe I'm gonna give it something fresh, I don't know. So there it is, you guys. It did rip a little bit, but you can prevent this happening by using these strings. I should have used this before I start baking it. Okay, so now I'm gonna take it and put it back. So there it is, you guys. Again, 165. I think I'm gonna go with 10 minutes for the other side. Let's see. Then again, guys, no, you cannot use these strings from the beginning while the dough is still fresh, because otherwise when it starts to bake, that's why it's called puff pastry, it's gonna be poofy, and then these will be deep into your pastry, so you do not want that. So just do what I do. Bake it first on one half and then turn it around and then do these strings. So guys, there's the other side. See, it's crispy, you can hear it. So it was 165 for one side, 25 minutes. Eventually I added another 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes when you flip it. See? So that is 165, 25 minutes. I'm sorry, 165 degrees temperature. That is 25 minutes on one side, and then same temperature, 10 minutes on the other side. So if you're really gentle, you can do two things from this point. You can let it cool off, then take it out, or you can be impatient like I am and just use these strings to take it out, which made it, you know, crunch together, and so it broke a little bit. But it's completely on me. So I'm gonna cut these and then let it cool off a little bit. So this is it, you guys. You can actually feed 4 persons from this, because look, you can divide this in two and this in two, and I assure you this is more than enough. That's probably what we would be doing. So there it is. There it is. Let me turn it around. Show you how crispy it looks. Because yes, it did broke here and there, but it's nice and crispy. There is no soggy dough, unbaked dough. I can assure you that. So, like I said, I was trying to adapt this. Next time, if you guys are gonna do it, then please go for a smaller fillet, okay? And because what caused this is the fact that it didn't fit right in the hot air fryer. It was too big for this extra, although this is an extra large. So I would definitely go for the, if you want to do this with hot air fryer. If you're going to do this in the oven, then this would have been fine. But for the hot air fryer, go for a smaller fillet. Definitely. All right, there it is. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure if you would try it, it would come out even better, knowing now the little mistakes that I made. So if you do, please let me know. This was an experiment. I've never made this in the hot air fryer. Nevertheless, love it. I just tasted some just to make sure that the salmon is good, and it's good. So guys, like I said, we ended up splitting this because it really is too big. So we each have now a quarter. Okay guys, I really need to tell you again, it really is good. So maybe it didn't stay as a whole, maybe it broke off a little bit because of the reasons I just mentioned, but it really is very, very tasty.
Yeah.
It really is good. So yeah, Mike agrees, so there you have it.
Agreed.
Look at that, you guys. That's what they call the leftovers. Me and Mike couldn't finish, each the half, so we had to split it in two, and then, one half was enough for us, for both of us. But look at that. Isn't this gorgeous? Isn't this beautiful? Let me take a good picture for the thumbnail. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do today, so this is the next day, what I'm gonna do today is, of course, just use the hot air fryer to warm it up. Look, it's solid enough. This is the next day, so everything is solidified a little bit. See, I have only one hand, but trust me, it's solid enough for the next day to pick it up and put it in the basket. But I am going to divide it in two, because otherwise I will have the same problem as I did yesterday, which for you is still the same video. Hey guys, this is the leftover. We made Russian coulibiac with salmon yesterday, and it's delicious. It's really delicious, and it's easy. Look out for the vlog on our YouTube channel. You're gonna love this. And if you don't feel like doing something that is predictable like turkey or whatever for Christmas, why not do this? So look like this. See, when you cut them in half and you I don't know, push them a little bit alongside each other, they'll fit perfect. And like I said, it's a little bit solidified, but that's only because it's been in the fridge for almost 24 hours. So there it goes. On 170, I'm gonna warm it up 170, maybe 10 minutes. I want it to be warm thoroughly. So there it goes. Guys, there it is. So this fell off just when I took it out. But look, it got even goldish, brownish, even crispier, if that's a word. Look how delicious this looks. You really need to do this, guys. You really need to make this. Okay, we're hungry.
It's good.